The exercise started on the morning of 3rd November 2018 at 7 o'clock. Corporal Liu and the trainer were in the Land Rover following their assigned Bionix. At around 9:58, the Bionix crew spotted several vehicles passing by at a junction ahead of it and stopped the Bionix as ordered by the vehicle commander. Responding to this, the Land Rover, driven by Corporal Liu, also stopped. The COI found that the trainer had instructed Corporal Liu to move the Land Rover forward to overtake the Bionix. Just as Corporal Liu started to move forward slowly, shots were fired as part of the exercise. Upon hearing the gunshots, Corporal Liu stopped the Land Rover behind the Bionix. And based on the COI's calculations, this final position of the Land Rover would have been at a distance of, quote, at most 19.8 meters from the Bionix, but short of the safety distance of 30 meters stated in the training and safety regulations, unquote. 4 seconds after the Land Rover had stopped, the Bionix started to reverse as part of the extrication drill ordered by the Bionix vehicle commander in responding to the shots. Let me explain a little bit about extrication drills. How well and quickly armored combat crews can extricate themselves when fired upon can make a big difference as to whether they survive an enemy onslaught or are captured or destroyed. The COI acknowledged the need for this type of training, even though it is high risk. The Bionix, as part of the prescribed drill, had to reverse so that its guns could continue to fire forward at the enemy. As the driver of the Bionix is unable to see behind him or behind the vehicle, the rear guide directs the driver in reversing the vehicle. You remember the picture I showed of the Bionix with the driver in front and he can see forward. It is the rear guide who must guide him in reversing. As the Bionix reversed, the Land Rover was initially not in its path. The COI found that the Bionix had drifted in reversing and the driver made a slight steer to correct this drift. The steer brought the Land Rover into the path of the Bionix. The COI did not find any mechanical problems with the Bionix's steering equipment. Almost immediately after the Bionix started reversing, the video recordings from the Land Rover's front-facing camera show the 3rd Sergeant rear guide of the Bionix, quote, gesturing at the Land Rover to move away and then pushing the mic of his helmet closer to his mouth, unquote. The COI found that the rear guide issued stop commands into the intercom of his helmet set when the Bionix started reversing and did so repeatedly. The intercom of the helmet is the rear guide's only means of communication with the other crew members in the Bionix. However, the Bionix continued to reverse. The video recording of the interior of the Land Rover cabin showed the captain trainer tapping Corporal Liu and signaling him to reverse the Land Rover. From the beeping sounds, it also indicated that Corporal Liu did engage the reverse gear. Both the trainer and Corporal Liu also shouted and gestured with their hands for the Bionix to stop, and the trainer also attempted to reach for the handset of the radio set to communicate with the Bionix crew. Approximately 8 seconds after they started reversing, the Bionix collided into the Land Rover and mounted the driver's side before coming to a stop. The trainer could extricate himself, but Corporal Liu remained trapped. The trainer notified the conducting officer of the exercise, who immediately ordered the exercise to cease. A medic on board a nearby Bionix immediately tended to Corporal Liu. The SAF emergency ambulance service, the unit medical officer, and the Singapore Civil Defence Force were activated and arrived on site. Unfortunately, Corporal Liu succumbed to his injuries. He was pronounced dead by the unit medical officer on site at around 10:35 hours. The cause of his death, as determined by the post-mortem, was traumatic asphyxia. The COI noted that the rear guide had repeatedly given an order for the driver to stop reversing through the intercom via his helmet. The COI noted that the intercom system was working earlier in the exercise. The COI has asked for an independent technical assessment and a report on whether the intercom system was working properly all the time. In parallel, police investigations too are also focused on the communications between the Bionix crew and whether this was affected by the equipment. This is, of course, an important point that needs to be resolved, but we will have to await the outcome of the police investigations. The COI made several findings in their report. First, the COI noted that ensuring the safety distance is the responsibility of the vehicle commander of the Land Rover. In this case, the Land Rover ended up in a position that was less than the required safety distance from the Bionix. Second, the reversing of the Bionix from the simulated enemy encounter brought the Land Rover into the path of the Bionix. The COI found that a safety management plan was included as part of the exercise and in line with standard practice. The COI also found there was adequate deployment of medics and medical equipment as part of this plan for medical response.